Okay, so in order to do any of the trig ratio problem, you have to label them. In other words, in triangle, there are three sides, right? There are three sides to the right triangle. And each side has a name for it, okay? And one is opposite, the other one is hypotenuse, and then adjacent. You need to be able to correctly label those. If you can't, then no matter what you do after that, it's not going to be, probably not going to be correct, okay? So the first, you identify the focus angle. In all the trig problem, there is a one focus angle provided, okay? So let's say in this case, it's a theta, okay? Theta is this symbol is just a fancy way of saying X, okay? It's an angle, okay? So here's then a focus angle, theta, and then the opposite is always called opposite because it's opposite side of the theta, okay? So you shoot an arrow from a theta, and that side, opposite side, is called the opposite, okay? And the next is hypotenuse. And a hypotenuse is always, some people say it's a slanted side, and it is correct, okay? However, the easy way, because the triangle could be upside down or sideways, or right? So in that case, you want to identify hypotenuse as the side across from this 90. So this is a hypotenuse. And once you identify opposite and hypotenuse, then the third side is going to be adjacent. Okay. And you need to do that, be able to do that. Okay. So, and that's what we've done yesterday. This is just one simple example here. The theta is over here now, okay? That means opposite is the bottom side. You see that? So that 15 is the opposite. Hypotenuse is a 17. And then 8 is adjacent. Okay. So you need to label that. And if I ask you, what is the sine of a theta? Okay. Now here is the ratio, trig, what's called a trigonometric ratio. And sine, spelled with a sin, but don't read it as a sin. It's a sine, you read that, is defined as opposite over hypotenuse. I know it may not mean much to you right now, but that's what definition of a sine is. It's opposite over hypotenuse. And then cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And then tangent is opposite over adjacent, okay? And to memorize that, this equation, so to speak, teacher often use this phrase SOHCAHTOA to help you memorize this formula. SOHCAHTOA, this SOH is coming from this SOH. That's so. Okay. And then Ka is coming from CAH. And then TOA, T-A. Okay. And so if I ask you to find what sine of theta, well, sine of theta is redefined as opposite over hypotenuse, right? So what's the opposite? Opposite is a 15. So it's 15 over hypotenuse 17, okay? And that's what we've done yesterday, okay? Okay. We're missing quite a bit of people. Kira is here, right? Very good. Andy, did Andy come in? Yeah, Andy, good to see you. I think that's it. All right. So that's what we've done yesterday. Okay, and then today we're going to take further into now solving for a missing side. Okay, and so, but before we dive into solving equations, I want to briefly talk about cross multiplication. I don't know if you have used this before, but this comes in very, very handy, especially in this type of a question that we are going to do today. Now, cross multiplication is just a way to solve an equation, and it's very useful when you have two fractions equal to each other. In other words, so please write this down. Cross multiplication says, if you have two fractions equal to each other, A over B equals C over D, then A times D, or AD, A times D, if you multiply those diagonally, that is going to be equal to other diagonal multiplied together. It's called a cross multiplication. It's a very useful if you have fraction equals a fraction. For example, like if you have a 2x plus 5 over x equals 3 over, I don't know, 10 or something like that, and you have to solve for x. Now, it looks very complicated, right? But you could actually use cross multiplication to solve it, okay? And we don't need to do this one right now, but that's what cross multiplication is. Let me just show you that cross multiplication truly works, okay? For example, let's say you've got 2/5, right? And can you think of another fraction that is equal to 2/5? Like, what do you think? 4/10? Thank you, Nick. 2/5 is equal to 4/10, isn't it? They are equal, same thing, same fractions. Because if you reduce 4/10, that's 2/5. Okay, it's the same thing. Now, according to cross multiplication, if you multiply diagonally, so for example, 5 times 4 should be equal to 2 times 10. Are they? Are they equal to each other? They are both 20. Thank you. It's 20 equals 20. It works, right? If you have, I don't know, 1/2 equals 5/10 is 2 times 5 equal to 1 times 10? Yeah, it is, right? 10 equals 10. So it works, okay? And so this is what cross multiplication is. It's a very, very useful tool. For example, if you have like a simple as, I don't know, 5 over x equals 14 over 5, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, or something like that. And you have to solve for x. Even though it's not terribly complicated, but it can be difficult, right? Especially x is in the denominator. But if you have two fractions equal to each other, then you can use cross multiplication. 14x equals 5 times 8, which is a 40. And then all you have to do, you just divide by 14 on both sides. And then you get the answer, 14 divided by 14, 40 divided by 14. I hope I didn't talk too fast on that one there, but does that make sense? So, I mean, we're not going to work on like a solving equation type of a problems like this one, but we will use this cross multiplication skill and apply that in the problem for SOHCAHTOA problem. Okay. Oh, Brad is waiting to get in. All right. So does anybody need more time to write this down, cross multiplication part? Yes, okay. Again, the setup is, now one thing though, I want to mention, you can use a cross multiplication only if you have one fraction is equal to another fraction, okay? Then you cross multiply. But if you are multiplying two fractions together, for example, 2/3 times 1/5. If you're multiplying two fractions of each other, what do? This is a not cross multiplication. You're just simply multiplying two fractions of each other, so you multiply straight across. Is that clear to you guys? Okay. So cross multiplication only works if you have one fraction equals another fraction, and then you cross multiply. Okay. But if you're just simply multiplying two fractions together, you multiply straight across. Okay. So, okay, let's move on. So here it is, 4.2. And I would like you to copy this triangle right now and label each side of the triangle. Okay. I got an email from. Okay. Were you guys able to label that triangle? Opposite, hypotenuse, and adjacent. Let's try that, okay? So if you haven't done it, please work along with me. The focus angle is right here. The theta is now 32 degrees, okay? So we do know the angle measurement, which is 32 degrees. That's a theta. So the opposite, whoa, it's really choppy for some reason. So the opposite is this side right here. Did you guys get that? And then the hypotenuse is the across from the 90 degree, right? So that's hypotenuse. Just write height. And that means X is representing adjacent. You guys okay on that? Now, the next step is to set up, okay? Now, let me just pose a question. Which one do you think we need to pick out of sine, cosine, and tangent? You can't use any of them. It has to be one particular trig ratio. What do you guys think? What would you vote for? Is this a sine problem, cosine problem, or a tangent problem? And why? Why did you pick that? What do you guys think? So Stephanie votes for cosine problem. So this is a cosine problem. Anybody else? Does anybody think it's a sine problem or maybe tangent problem? And Stephanie is correct. I don't know if you were thinking maybe cosine. This is a cosine problem. Now let me tell you why, okay, if you don't quite see that yet. Now, do you see that on the opposite side right here, there is nothing on it. Opposite doesn't have anything in it. It's blank, right? In other words, basically opposite is out of the picture because there's nothing, no measurements involved on an opposite. We don't know it. So we can't use opposite. But we do have adjacent and hypotenuse, right? Adjacent is x. That's what we want to find out. And we do know what hypotenuse is. Okay, so now let's do a SOHCAHTOA. Okay, do we have SOHCAHTOA? So let's spell sine of theta is SOH, right? And then cosine of theta is CAH. And then the tangent of the theta is TOA. Now, which one of the three involves hypotenuse and adjacent? It's this one, isn't it? Cosine. Hypotenuse, and adjacent. So this has to be cosine problem. So the second step now is that we set up an equation, okay? So we do cosine of, always angle measurement next. Always sine, angle, cosine, angle measurement, tangent of angle. They are one package deal. You don't separate cosine and the angle measurement apart. They always go together, side by side. Cosine of 32 degrees is equal to, what is it? It's adjacent over hypotenuse. So what's adjacent? X over 7. Does that make sense? So far, you've done two major steps, taken two major steps. One is label, okay? Next, you set up an equation by picking the correct trig ratio. In this case, it's cosine. Now, the third step, we're going to solve it. Now, how are we going to solve it? We're going to use a cross multiplication. I'm going to write first cosine of 32 as a fraction. So I'm going to write that cosine of 32 over 1. Are you guys okay on that? So now you've got fraction equals fraction, right? So now we can cross multiply. So I'm going to multiply 1 times x. What's 1 times x? Isn't it 1x? Or simply just x equals the other multiply together, which is cosine of 32 times 7. Harley. Yeah, Harley, are you doing okay? I don't know if your computer is giving you a hard time, but I hope you can connected to the class okay. So you multiply cosine of 32 times 7. So now, and you have to use a calculator for this, okay? So take out your calculator. Now I want you to find the cosine button. Mine is right here. Do you guys all see the, do you find cosine button? So I press cosine of 32. Now I have to close the parentheses because it's 32 degrees, right? So I'm going to close that and then multiply by 7. And then I press enter. Now, what did you guys get? Are you getting 5.8, 5.9? Now, so let's write it down. The answer is 5.9 centimeters. You just found the measurement for x. That's a 5.9 centimeters. Did anybody get 5.8 by any chance? Did everybody get 5.9? You could possibly get 5.8 even if you type in exactly the same. See, I've got 5.8 this time, right? Now, how did I get that? That's a wrong answer, by the way. 5.9 is the right answer, not 5.8. Now, in geometry and in math, in order to measure angle measurement, there are actually 2 different angle measurements. I mean, just like at the foot distance, you can measure in meters or miles. You've got different units, right? In angle measurement, there are actually 2 different angle measurements. One is called degree, which is we are used to be using. The other one is called radian. If your calculator is in radian mode, you're going to get wrong answer. So you need to convert, check your calculator and see if it's in degree mode. To check that, for my calculator, I press mode button. You see that? Or maybe you do like a shift or setting or whatever. So you press mode. And you see that right here, the 3rd line from the top. Right now, radian is highlighted. And I can do that. So I'm going to highlight degree. And now this calculator is good to go. Okay. Do you guys all have a calculator? Something like this? You don't need a graphing calculator, but something. Now, who is using a cell phone calculator? Yeah. Now, cell phone calculator is a little bit tricky to use. It's not very friendly in terms of how you punch in. Because when you do cosine of 32, I believe you have to type in 32 and then cosine button. So you don't want to, I try to stay away from cell phone calculator, but you see my here, you see at the very bottom corner, it says rad. That's a radian mode. You don't want that. You want to convert it into, now it says degree, okay? Oh, wait a second. No, you want to, oh yeah. On that screen, it says rad. You don't want that. So you have to press right here and make sure that the rad is erased right there. Okay, you don't want to see rad right there. That's radian. And then what you do is you do, I think you do 32 cosine. So yeah, why don't you go along with me? You do 32 and then you press cosine button. So 32 cosine and then multiply that by 7. And you get 5.9. Did you guys get that? The other option You guys are on, I don't know, do you have a computer with you? Are you using Chromebook? Just go to, just Google. Okay, I will show you. I'm gonna stop share. No, not this one. There are online calculator too, online scientific calculator. So go to Google or search engine, just type in scientific calculator online. That's what I typed in. Okay, do you guys all see this? I just Googled scientific calculator online, and then I've got that right here. Okay. You can do, so the first one is Desmo, or you can just use right here, right? You can maybe bookmark it, and then you can do cosine, was it cosine? Cosine of 32, and then you want to close the parentheses, and then times that by 7. You guys want to do that? And then press equal. Now I got 5.8. No, that's not good because right now radian is chosen. So if I press a degree right here, now degree is highlighted. So you get 5.9. Okay. Or if you go to this one, scientific calculator, Desmos, have you guys, has any of your teacher used Desmos? So if you go to that, okay, let me share that in the chat. Where is the chat? So here it is. Please look at the chat. I just sent you guys the link for the Desmos. And this is a good one too, okay? So here, you see right here, degree is, it's in degree mode. If I press that, it's a rad. That's a radian. You don't want that. So press the other one. This one is a degree. And you go cosine of 32. Close the, oh, wait a second, backtrack. Cosine of 32, close the parentheses, times 7, and then enter. So you get 5.9. So I would use that. There are also apps from App Store that you can put. It's a free. So if you go to the App Store, or what do you call it for Android phone? For iPhone, it's called the App Store, where you can download some apps and type in scientific calculator. Scientific calculator. And there are a bunch of calculators that are as good. Now this one, I have it on my phone. This calculator 84. Can you guys all see that? Ooh, it's not very focused. This one, it's a free app and it's got the same layout as my TI calculator, graphing calculator. So you've got the graphing calculator for free on your phone. It's an identical layout, but it's not from Texas Instruments. So, and you can download that. You see, I've got it on my cell phone. So you could use that. Okay, let's keep going, guys. So let me share go back to the whiteboard. Is everybody doing okay? Okay, let's keep going, okay? So let's do another example. Here it is. So first, I want you to label the triangle. So copy down the triangle first, and then let's label it. And then let's set up an equation. Let's go up to that point. Okay, did you guys do that? Label that. So first, the focus angle is 64. So opposite is this 5. Okay, opposite. Hypotenuse is right here. It's the side across from 90-degree angle right here. This is 90-degree. And then the opposite side is the hypotenuse. But there's nothing on the hypotenuse, is there? So that hypotenuse is out. And then adjacent. Now, which function is this? Is this a sine, cosine, or tangent problem? Which one? Can somebody tell me that? This is tangent problem. Let's look for the one that deals with opposite and adjacent, O and A. Opposite and adjacent, OA. Which one has an OA combination? OA combination. This is a tangent, isn't it? Okay. So this is tangent problem. So let's set it up. Tangent of, always the angle comes next. Tangent of 64. That's a one package deal, yeah? Okay. Okay, what's going on, Nick? Are you with me? So tangent of 64 equals, okay, okay, I get you. Thank you. What do I do without you, Nick? Tangent of 64 equals opposite over adjacent. So 5 over x, okay? And now we are going to cross multiply. Now, do you notice the main difference between the previous question and this question? Besides the fact that the last one was cosine, but this one is tangent, but what else is different in this question compared to the previous question? Do you see that this one, x is in the bottom, and the last question, x was on the top? Okay. So let's see how it goes. Okay. Now let's cross multiply. I'm going to cross multiply the one that has x in it first. Okay. So I'm going to do tangent of 64 times x is equal to the other diagonal multiplied together, 1 times 5, which is 5. Yeah, that's right. X is not by itself, isn't it? Right? Now you've got x times tangent of 64. That means we are not quite done for ready to punch into the calculator. Okay. So since you want to solve for x, you want to get to the point where it says x equals a number, right? So we need to get rid of tangent of 64. How do we get rid of this tangent of 64? You're going to divide both sides by tangent of 64. And that cancels out. So the answer will be x equals, it's 5 divided by tangent of 64. So let's try that. 5 divided by tangent of 64. So 5 divided by tangent of 64, and you get 2.4. Right, in the right mode, yeah. So you will get 2.4. 2.4 meter. So another point that will be useful to remember is when x is in the top or numerator, that is, you will basically end up multiplying together to get the answer. So cosine of 32 times 7, right? But if x is in denominator, you will end up dividing a number, divide by tangent or cosine or sine of something. In this case, it's tangent of 64. Does that make sense? Well, maybe not quite not. I don't know. How do you guys feel so far? Kind of getting this? So if you are not quite getting this the process, please don't worry, but we will go over the assignment right now and let's do more problem together, okay? So please get your notes ready. And this is today's assignment. Now we've got 9 problems, and the last class, we didn't quite get to the last 3 problems, so let's not do that, okay? We'll just do 6 problems today for today's assignment, okay? You guys are ready for that, to begin the assignment? All right, let's begin. Okay, so here's the first question, A. So what do you think I'm going to ask you to do? You're going to label. Always label first. So I would like you to label all 3 sides of a right triangle right now. Opposite, hypotenuse, adjacent. Okay, Tigra, make sure that you watch the video, okay? I hope you're doing all right. Yeah. So we'll take care and I will see you later. Okay. Somebody just came in and just had to talk to me a little bit. And so that's what I was talking about. Okay, have you guys labeled that? So focus angle is 76. So opposite is that x. X represents opposite. Hypotenuse is actually on the bottom, isn't it? This one, hypotenuse is 16. And then adjacent is blank. So adjacent, basically out. Which one uses opposite and hypotenuse? OH. Which one is the OH combination? You're getting that? This is, okay, quickly, SOH, CAH, TOA. That's how I write SOHCAHTOA. I don't know if you like that. Or you can just write down SOH, CAH, TOA. Now, which one uses O and H? Wasn't it this one? O and H. This is a sign problem. Let's set it up. Sine of 76. Always angle comes after. Sine, cosine, tangent. Sine of 76 equals opposite, which is x over hypotenuse, 16. And this one, x is on the top, so it's going to be easy one. If you cross multiply, you just get x equals right away. X equals sine of 76 times 16, whatever that is. So let's take out your calculator. Sine of 76 times 16. My sine of 76 one more time times 16. 15.5. If you have got 9.0, 9.1, that you're in radian mode. So you need to change that. Why don't you try B? Are you guys ready for B? Why don't you try for B all by yourself? Label, setup, cross multiply, and solve. Give you 1 minute. Okay, so how did it go? Does anybody have the answer? It will be, what is it? 4.99 or 13? Did anybody else get that? 12.99? Very good, Stephanie. Anybody else? So let's try, okay? So the focus angle is right here. Opposite. Hypotenuse. Adjacent. Opposite is blank. So opposite, I'm gonna just forget about that. So we're talking about adjacent hypotenuse. A and H. Right there, A and H. So this has to be cosine problem. Cosine of 30 degrees is equal to cosine of 30 equals A over H. So that's A is X, X over 15. And then let's cross multiply that. So again, conveniently, you just get X equals, right? Because X is on the top. X equals cosine of 30 times 15. And you're going to get 12.99. Which one to choose? Is that what you're asking, Bran? Sine, cosine, or tangent? Which one to know? Is that what your question is? So, okay, well, let's do another one, okay? So let's work on C together. Were you here yesterday, Brandon? I don't know if you were. The first thing that you need to do is you label 3 sides of a right triangle, okay? Triangle has 3 sides, right? So you're gonna label them. One is called opposite. The opposite, to identify opposite side, it's always the opposite of the angle that is given to you. It's the focus angle. So it's a 64, so opposite is this one, X. X is the opposite. Next, hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is always the slanted side or the side across from the 90 degree. So you've got the 90 degree and then the across from that, that's a hypotenuse. But there is nothing on a hypotenuse, is there, right? Yeah. Yeah. And then the last side has to be adjacent. Okay. Now, you notice that there was nothing on the hypotenuse. It was a blank, right? So you're going to just erase that. In other words, you're dealing with adjacent and opposite. Now, this SOHCAHTOA, I don't know how much you've missed the class, but you look for the one that deals with adjacent and opposite. And that is this one right here. Adjacent A and opposite. There's only one that uses opposite and an adjacent combination. And this has to be tangent problem. Am I making sense to you guys? So let's set it up. Tangent of 64 equals opposite, which is X, over adjacent, which is 4.8. Yeah, Brandon, or anybody who missed yesterday's class, you need to go and watch the video from yesterday, okay? Then I think it will make a lot more sense of what we're doing right now. Is it kind of starting to make sense, Brandon, a little bit? Now we're going to cross multiply. Okay, and we talked about that cross multiplication at the beginning of today's class. So if you missed that, then you need to watch the video, okay? Today's video, which I haven't uploaded yet, but so if you cross multiply 1 times x is x, and then equals tangent of 64 times 4.8. So the answer is tangent of 64 times that by 4.8. You get 9.8. You guys okay? Okay, 3 more problems to go, okay? And I'm gonna let you guys work on that a little bit more independently. So why don't you work on D, E, and F? Let's work on that independently right now. And then in about 5-10 minutes, we'll talk about the answer. Meantime, if you're maybe struggling, why don't you ask me a question? What question do you have? Anybody? Are you guys doing okay? If you don't even know what to ask, but you don't quite get it, just say, hey, Mr. Carr, I don't get this. Anybody like that, feeling that way? Okay, so label, setup, cross multiply. Be right back. Today, Wednesday. All right. Guys doing okay? Anybody want to go over on D together? Okay. This is where I walk around the classroom just to talk to you guys individually and see if you guys are doing okay. I have no way of seeing your notebook, but are you guys doing okay? Anybody, any questions? Okay, so I'm gonna get started on D, okay? So label opposite, because focus angle is right here. So opposite has to be that. The hypotenuse is always across from 90 degrees. So that's hypotenuse, H, and then adjacent. There is nothing on opposite. Opposite was blank. So this is adjacent hypotenuse combination. Which one is it? Adjacent hypotenuse. Adjacent hypotenuse is, it's cosine, isn't it? So this is a cosine problem, okay? So cosine of 42 equals adjacent over hypotenuse. So it's a 5 over x. Now x is in the denominator this time, yeah? So if we cross multiply, let's do this. I'm going to cross multiply the ones that has an x in it. So x times cosine of 42 equals 1 times 5, which is just 5. Since we want to solve for x, I'm going to divide both sides by cosine of 42, and that cancels out. So the answer is a 5 divided by cosine of 42. So take out your calculator. 5 divided by cosine of 42. I get 6.7. Did anybody get that? X equals 6.7. Okay. So if you're working ahead, please stop and check for D. Did you get 6.7 for D? Let's work on E and F. Okay, just keep working. Okay, very good, Lawrence. Nice job. All right, I'm gonna just keep going, okay? So focus angle is 34. So opposite is 8, okay? Hypotenuse, there's nothing on a hypotenuse, but this is a hypotenuse, okay? But hypotenuse is gonna be out because there's nothing, but then adjacent is x. So this is an opposite adjacent combination. Which one uses the opposite and adjacent? Yeah, you can round off to, yeah, Stephanie, that looks good. So opposite adjacent is right here. You see that? Opposite adjacent, OA, right? So this is a tangent problem. So let's write it down. Tangent of 34 equals opposite over adjacent, OA, right? So it's 8 over x. So now let's cross multiply. Tangent of 34 times x equals 1 times 8, which is just 8. And now I divide both sides by tangent of 34. So that's gone. So x equals 8 divided by tangent of 34. I get 11.9, yeah? Or 11.86. Second, my. Yeah. 何を作ってるってもう、動画もできてるよ。ああ、オッケーオッケー。オッケー。ウォールナッツはもうでも後で、オッケー、わかった。はい。オッケー、はい。All right. That was my wife. Okay. So last question. Let's finish this up. Okay. And then we're done. Okay. So label, the focus angle is this one. So opposite is this one right here, 80 centimeter. That's opposite. Hypotenuse. Again, there's nothing on a hypotenuse, but let's write it down anyway. Hypotenuse is this side. That means X is adjacent. Again, it's opposite and an adjacent. So this is a tangent again. Okay, so 2 times in a row, we're going to use tangent. Tangent of 74 equals, again, tangent is opposite over adjacent, O over A. Okay, so O, 80, keeps moving, 80 over X. Okay. And then let's cross multiply. Tangent of 74 times X equals 80. Divide both sides by tangent of 74. So that cancels out. So X equals 80 divided by tangent of 74. What did you guys get? Did you get 22.9? Very good. Scale of 1 to 5. Oh, where are you? 5, I've got this. 1, don't get it at all. Where are you? Everybody, tell me where you are. Are you getting that? Anybody else? What, how about the rest of you guys? Okay, all right. Yeah, maybe some of you are a little struggling still, maybe not quite getting that. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Maybe a little difficult. I think some of you are getting it. Yeah. Now, if you're, I don't know, frustrated with this, please give yourself more time. Okay. This is, I don't know. I know it's difficult for some of you. I know some it comes up pretty easy for some of you, but I know it can be a little bit difficult, or maybe a lot difficult for some of you. Okay, we will continue to work on this, but at least I hope you've got this in your notes. Okay, even if you don't quite it doesn't make sense, please write it down. Okay, and then we will continue to work on it. Okay, so, but I think we've done enough of a problem today. So please make sure that you take this a picture of this, and then please submit before you do anything else. If you would like to maybe go over maybe another problem with me, I will be happy to work with you. So please remain in the class. Otherwise, I will see you guys tomorrow. Okay. Thank you very much for your attention, your effort. I will see you guys tomorrow, guys. Take care, guys.